Welcome to the Abundant at the Top podcast. I'm Brittany Fox, your host. Today is going to be a really fun episode. I am taking us back to my journey of building an 8-figure business, making the Inc. 5000 list, and I'm going to share what I learned, the mistakes I made, and what I'm doing now and how I'm implementing it in my business to not make the same mistakes. Which I'm on week 2 of my new venture, my new business, and more than anything, my new community she created. And I'm just in this vision startup mode and I'm loving it. I'm like the highs of starting something new and also the emotional roller coaster of all that comes with starting something new. And I had a moment where I needed to review some of the lessons that I learned because I knew I was repeating some of the same mistakes. And also, having learned those lessons, I didn't want to repeat them again. So today we're going to be diving into some of those lessons. So let's get started. When Dave and I launched our company, Focus GTS, it was in 2018, and we bootstrapped everything. We built our company from the ground. We never took outside funding, and it was pure startup mode. And I actually had a moment back here on this couch yesterday, I think it was, or just a few days ago, that I had such a flashback of when we were in build mode and we would wake up at 7 a.m., go into the second bedroom, and we would work all the way till 7 p.m. and even then grab a glass of wine, and we kept going because we were just so excited. We were so excited about what we were building and what we were doing. And I find myself in a very similar season now. I'm just so excited. I can't sleep at night because I have such vision. I have such excitement, and my adrenaline's high of what I'm building because I'm on mission. I'm in alignment for what I'm supposed to be doing in this season of my life. And I also remembered I was having this moment back here on my couch. I had 2 dogs, my new 2 dogs. My other 2 they've passed away. They've since gotten older, and now I have Luna and Spike, which we're going to hear a lot about Luna, I am sure. But I was having this moment of remembering those days and the lessons that I learned because I had a moment where it was full meltdown. I was crying hysterically, and I just was going back to telling myself old stories and programmings. And I just thought, like, what happened here? Like, what's going on? I had launched a new product offering and it just didn't go how I thought it would go. Like, I just didn't land it how I thought it would go out to the market. And I didn't have the strategy in place. I didn't have my priorities. I didn't have all the things that I know to have. So it made me go back and look at the lessons that I've learned so that I don't repeat them. And I want to share them with you so you also can save yourself some lessons. I'm a big advocate of learning from other people's mistakes and having to make my own when I can. But of course, you're still going to make some. But let's save you a little bit of pain today if we can. So one of the first things, and this comes down to leverage, which is one of my favorite things. And the first thing that I had wrote down is that I would hire people that are senior and more qualified than I am in the most critical roles. This is one of the strongest things you can do to leverage and to get you staying in your zone of genius. Thank you, Gay Hendricks and The Big Leap. Highly recommend this book if you haven't read it already. But staying in your zone of genius, and how do you do that? You leverage talent. And I was in the talent business. We had a tech staffing company. I knew all about hiring. I was building my own team to helping other companies, Fortune 500s and super successful startups build their teams. And this is one of the number one things you can do to leverage and to get to your business goals even faster. So hiring senior people, most critical roles, and leveraging what you are not good at. So the other thing is it drains your energy when you're doing all of these things that maybe you are good at, but sucks your energy. So that is another part of hiring the senior people, is to also leverage the items that drain your energy, because you are the visionary, you are the founder, you are the person in build mode, and you need to stay in your zone of genius. Now, the second lesson that I had wrote down, you're going to find that the first 3 are all about people. I believe this is one of the biggest challenges that we have of building businesses is the people and building teams and getting really good at both managing and leading. I had never managed people before I started my company, Focus GTS. I worked on a team in Manhattan. I did real estate for 8 years. I worked on one of the top 10 teams, and I was an independent contractor. So I wasn't building a team and I wasn't managing people. And I had to learn that skill set when I launched my company. And I know some of you have come from corporate where you've managed teams, and that's amazing. I had to learn that skill set and holding people accountable and having tough conversations, which we're going to get to soon, which is one of my other lessons. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm so excited because this is such a big aspect to your business, people. Because if you have a really big vision for what you're doing, what you're building, and what you're creating, then it's going to take a team. It's going to take a team to get you there, and you can get there so much faster with the right people. So we have leverage of hiring the senior people in the most critical role. And I know that there is also the factor of financing. Dave and I, we bootstrapped our company from the ground. And we had to take a lot of risk in that. And I know people is one of your biggest expenses, especially senior people. Because when we were building our team and our company, we did what every bootstrap founder does. We hired our friends and family. And I know that people like Cody Sanchez, it's worked out great for her. It didn't work out so great for us most of the time. And that's why I am such a big proponent of hiring people with the right skill sets, not just people who are in your network. And you have to learn how to interview and hire these people. And again, back to the point of depends on where you're at in your journey. If you're building something, we ran our company on the EOS model, which if you're not familiar with it, it's the Entrepreneur Operating System. It's this book called Traction by Gino Wickman. I highly recommend it if you are building a business and you are still under 500 employees. It gives you the systems and tools to really scale and to manage your people. But one of the biggest components is having the right people in the right seats. And I know because we were bootstrapping, we did not have the funds to be able to hire those senior people. But looking back, even then, what I would have done is I would have made a plan to be able to hit certain targets, financials, to be able to bring in those senior people before I brought in people at a less salary with less skill sets, and thinking that I would hit those goals that way. But that also takes a lot more work and took a lot more of my energy than I had originally imagined. And again, I can relate so much to the business that is in growth mode, that is in bootstrap, or that just doesn't have the funds right now. And I'll never forget when we were building our company, we were about 2 years in, we were in growth mode. We hit $2 million in revenue our first year. We grew to 6 million the following year. Like, we had massive growth and we were super excited. And these are revenue numbers. And we are just like, man, we are so pumped about what we're building and doing. And we had a vision that we were in the process and we were hiring, and our number was about 30. We started looking at office spaces because we launched in the second bedroom of our condo. We had up to 5 people coming there, and that wasn't sustainable. So then we got a co-working space, and we were outgrowing that. So we were looking at getting an office, and we hadn't been in business 2 years when we went to get this office, and we didn't have any credit because we were still under that 2-year mark. And so we had to personally guarantee the office we were looking at. It was a beautiful office, and I'm such a big believer in your environment to make it feel how you want to feel, what you're creating, and putting yourselves in those environments so you can envision what's possible. Like, it's such a key to creating anything you want is visualization. But what if you could not have to close your eyes, but what if you were living in a beautiful vision already? And so I was so excited about this office, having been in luxury real estate in Manhattan. I was like, this is it. This is the spot. And we had to personally guarantee it. It was a 5-year lease, and it was $500,000 that Dave and I would have to guarantee. This was such a burn the boats moment. Like, either we're doing this or we're not. Are we in? Are we not? And so we did it. We went all in. And I am sharing this specific story so that you can also relate that to hiring. Like, are you in? Are you fully in on your vision? Are you willing to take that risk at the right time? Like, do your analysis. When does that make sense for you? and then taking the risk and hiring those senior people. So I hope you get this lesson because we talked about it a lot, but there's so many ways to build a business with people, getting the right people in the right seats and hiring that senior talent is one of the first things that I look back and reflect that I would do different as I was building my company. Moving on to the next one that I think of, the first three are going to be all about people because, people are everything in your company, is to hire slow and fire fast. This is not advice that I'm giving you probably for the first time. You've heard it and I heard it and I didn't listen, right? I got really excited and I would hire people that I liked and that I related to, not even knowing it, because so much of the hiring process is the unconscious, is that bias that you just have to naturally gravitate towards people who are like you. And I had to learn through hiring, as especially someone in this space, how to take that bias out and to really look for the skill sets. And this comes to getting really clear on what it is you want this person to do in that role. What is the outcome? What is the measurables? Don't even think about hiring until you can get this on paper. And I don't just mean a job description. I mean going even deeper and putting it on paper on what does success look like for this person and what skill sets would they have. So you really want to spend time on getting super clear on what it is that you want for someone in this specific role. Once you get really specific about this specific role, then you can go out to the job market and start to recruit for this position, whether you recruit for it yourself or if you hire a staffing firm or go the traditional route of when you're a startup of your network, which is of course your best referrals and place to start. Even as someone who's had a staffing company, referrals can be your best source. It's so important though that you have a really clear and standardized hiring process, because if not, you're going to have that bias kick in of people you like. But if you're not measuring out them against what you just wrote out, you're going to end up hiring someone that you like who might be a great person, but they're just not right for that role. They might even be a good fit culturally or for your company or team. But when you are in build mode, it is so important that your first few hires are exactly what you need at that point in the business. So getting really clear on that, having the hiring process outlined, having the same hiring interview process for every single candidate so you can get the same information from all of them to make the best decision. And at the end of the day, you're going to hire the person. You're going to bring them in. And the moment you know that they are not right, if you made a bad hire, you have to let them go. You have to. I can't tell you the amount of times that we kept people for too long. It's a lesson I had to learn far too many times, because one person, especially in a startup or in a small company, a small team, it affects everyone. The culture, they can feel it. They know when someone is not right, they're not on mission, they are not a culture fit. And if they're not doing a good job, everyone knows. And you're lowering your standards for your entire company and you're saying that this is okay. It's okay not to do the best job and you'll still have a job here. And you'll slowly see your team and your company continue to lower their standards. And if they don't lower their standards, which I hope they don't, your A players are going to leave because they don't want to be in an environment. A players want to be around A players. So it is your job as the leader, as the founder, to be able to keep that standard level of excellence and hold people accountable, which leads perfectly into my third lesson, having tough conversations fast. So not only letting people go quickly, firing fast, as all of the great leaders in business talk about, is having those tough conversations first. I had mentioned I never managed people, and I just thought a lot of things were common sense that people should know. If you have metrics, like if you're not hitting them, then it's not going well. Well, I had to learn you have to communicate that to certain people over and over again. And I had to learn about the PIP process and all of the things that go into HR and letting someone go, but also just having tough conversations fast. Even if it's not to do with performance, if something was uncomfortable or something wasn't done the way that is to your standards, or just giving feedback. I mean, maybe this is easy for you, but it's something I struggled with for quite a long time. And it had to do with my own identity work of feeling like, who am I to call these people out? I mean, I was the leader of the company, right? But I had some internal dialogue that I had to work through because a lot of people that I hired, they were older than me or they were more senior than me as we grew the company. And that was a real big challenge I had to overcome, that you know what? This is my company. I am the right person for the job. I am the person that is building this. So I need to be able to lead these people and hold them accountable. So having tough conversations fast is such a critical part of building your company and your team, and the lessons that I learned. Okay, so we're through half of the lessons that I wrote down and I made really clear about not repeating. And number 4 is to invest in the skills that you are not good at. I had just mentioned how I wasn't good at managing people, or I didn't have that skill set yet. I had a big challenge of having the tough conversations. So what was I working on is I had a life coach at the time, and that was a lot of our conversations was, why do I have a challenge with that? And I had to work on that for quite a bit of time, but I had someone coaching me and teaching me about how to get better at this. So if you can't hire or outsource that skill yet, or if it's just a skill that you can't outsource, there are certain skills that you as the founder, as the leader, as the builder, as the creator, that you won't be able to outsource or to leverage. So for example, that skill set that I needed to manage people, I had to work on that. And then the second one that I had to work on, which was later on in building my company, which has played a big role in what I do now, is public speaking. That I used to get so nervous. Even speaking to my team at my own company, when I would do trainings, I would get dry mouth and I would just go into this panic mode. I know this is one of the top fears of most people, but it was just uncontrollable. And I thought, this is ridiculous. And it's something that I had to hire a coach for. I've worked with several coaches. I've taken courses. It's something I still am polishing and getting better at. I mean, I know a lot of public speakers still get nervous and have to work through that, but it's something I'm still investing in. I'm still working with a coach and I'm still working on a program. So the learning really never stops at the end of the day of this journey of building a business, of personal development, of being the creator of your life. The growth never stops. The inner work, we're never there. We never arrive. Well, this isn't one of my points that I wrote down about the business. It's one of my life awarenesses. And I'm so just grateful that me and my husband are also aligned on this journey, that it's one of the most important things to us in life is that we're always open to growing and to learning new skill sets. This will serve you throughout your entire life, every single area that you would invest where you see that you can't leverage, that you can't outsource, and that is something that you need to work on. And speaking of investing in yourself, the 5th thing that I had wrote down was a huge lesson for me, and we did this really well, actually. This is something that I don't think was a failure for us as we were building the business. It was actually one of our biggest successes. I tell the story of how when we launched our company, we were in the 2nd bedroom of our condo. We had never run a business before. We were both successful in what we were doing before, but we had never built a business. We had never been entrepreneurs. So we did what every entrepreneur did at the time before ChatGPT. We Googled how to run a business. And of course, we get hit by these Facebook ads about personal development and different conferences. And that began our personal development journey of figuring out who we are, how to run businesses, and that 80% of it is psychology, 20% is the strategy, and there's plenty of strategy out there. So we're going to figure it out, but we're only going to figure it out if we have a belief that we'll always find a way, which I had already had that belief before, but having it ingrained even more and learning the other areas of psychology and mindset that I needed to work on to become the type of leader to run the type of company that I wanted to build. From the person who started the bootstrap company in the 2nd bedroom of her apartment would not be the same Brittany, would not be the same person that would build the company to 8 figures and make the Inc. 5000 list. This was a journey of who I needed to become. And now there's still the journey of who I need to become to build my community, to be the leader that I inspire to continue to be. So it's a constant becoming journey. And the only way we do that is through community, is by getting in the room, surrounding ourselves with the right people. I have personally invested over $500,000 over the last 8 years in personal development and being in the right communities, around hiring the right coaches and going to different conferences to invest in my mindset. There is not a dollar that I would take back. It is one of my greatest investments in my entire life. It's not the real estate investments that I've made. It's not the savings and stock market. It is simply investing in myself and my mindset, because I know you could take everything away from me, all my financials, and I would still have my mindset to get me to where I want to go, to create the life that I want because of my mind, because I have the ability to create certainty from within. So I'm just so grateful for that journey. And I think we did that one really, really well. And being a part of community has been everything. And the last thing that I want to say that I wrote down was so important about building in that company for me was to measure what is bringing in success and pick up on the customer feedback and patterns quickly. Oftentimes as visionaries, as founders, we start building and we fall in love with our product, our baby, and we just think that it's the best thing ever, but we're not getting our customer feedback. And I absolutely love to do that. I love to pick up on the patterns. What are people saying? What are the buzzwords? What do they wish they had more of? And I do this with the She Created community all the time. I think it's something I'm already doing really well at, is having these one-on-one conversations, asking for feedback. Is this something that you'd be interested in? Like, what do you love about the community? What do you want to see more of? And speaking of that, I'd love to hear from you. If there is something you want to hear more on this topic, if there's a specific thing you want me to talk to you about, share with you about my journey or my lessons, or a guest you want to hear on my podcast, hit me up. I want your feedback. I want to know what resonates with you most. And this is a lesson that I highly encourage you to do from the start, is to get feedback, because you don't want to go so far down the road that it's not resonating and you wasted all this time, money, and energy. These are some amazing lessons that I learned along the way. Some of them I had to learn the hard way. Others I figured out pretty fast. And I know that I'm going to have more lessons along the journey. I mean, as I mentioned, does the journey ever really end? And I just want to encourage you to see failure as a lesson, to see it as an opportunity to grow and to continue on, because we're all going to make mistakes. But keep going. That's the road of a high achiever, of an ambitious woman, is to just keep going, to pivot and adjust. I mean, there's so many more lessons that I could share, but these are my main 6 for today. I'm sure I'm going to think of more, have them written down, but hit me up. What has been your biggest lesson in building and creating whatever it is that you have? That's it for this episode of Abundance at the Top. So make sure to subscribe to the podcast. This is just the beginning. Follow me on social, BeFoxy, Foxy, on Instagram, and check out the school community for all of the She Creators out there doing magical things. Stay tuned.